You are live.
All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Planning Commission meeting for Thursday, June 8th. This is a rescheduled meeting from last week. We had a cancellation last week due to power outages throughout the city. And so we are reconvening this meeting that was originally scheduled for last week to this week. Mr. Lashinsky, if you can pull up the agenda, that would be great.
Sure. Bear with me for a second.
All right, so if I can have, while you're doing that, if I can have a call to order, who's doing the count? I apologize. Usually it's Kim.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay, great.
All right, so if we can have a call to order, please.
Kim is not here tonight, so that's
Sure.
part of the.
Let's just go. Chairman Sale is here.
David Imes is here.
Tom Spagnutis is here.
Mr. Spagnutis, are you here?
I am here.
All right.
All right, and then I'm Teresa and I'm here. That should be, I believe, Mr. Klein is absent today.
There's quorum.
And Diane Butler is also.
I didn't hear her. That's why I didn't. Diane, are you present?
She's absent.
She's listening in, I believe.
She's online, but she's under attendees though.
So we'll assume we have quorum. We have quorum, and if she's able to participate, wonderful. All right, moving forward. The agenda tonight as follows. We have the approval of the minutes, continuation of the public hearing on 01523. I'm sorry, 01523, and unfinished business followed by new business communications and our adjournment. Can I get an approval of the, approval of the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. The agenda is approved to continue. You have all received the minutes for May 18th that was distributed to the commission. Has everyone had a chance to review? Any questions or modifications or clarifications needed? Please say so. Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve the minutes for May 18th?
So moved.
Have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. And the minutes are approved. Thank you. Item E is the continuation of the public hearing. This item 01523 is the building height and elevation limit exception for FEMA flood zones in Annapolis, has been open for 2 consecutive meetings. The first meeting on the 18th of May, and now the second meeting today in June 8th. We did have some public comment that was submitted. Before I close the public hearing, is there any other discussion from the presenters or staff that would like to add additional comments before we move into the sequential order of that item? Mr. Lashinsky, do you have anything?
I don't think so. Not at this time. I think I should say that there's only one amendment right now, and that is consistent with the staff report that you received. It's just simply clarifying the area that we're talking about, city dock, and that's coming from the FEMA flood map, and removes the website address from the ordinance. So everything else was withdrawn. For basic clarity's sake, to be consistent with the staff report. So that's the only update that has happened since your last meeting.
Could you explain the highlighted portions of the new staff report? Just explain.
Yeah. I think I have it here. Let's see. So this was precipitated by a meeting. We had a presentation to the City Council Rules Committee and Environmental Matters Committee. It was a joint meeting on Tuesday afternoon. And we went through, and basically because one of the amendments was caused some confusion, I would say, but it also then made us realize that in the ordinance, there was an area that we could clarify better in the staff report. And that was asked of me. Let me just show you what we're talking about in the ordinance that's being clarified. Let's see. Shoot. Let me, oops, I clicked on the wrong one.
No, I think that was the one.
Well, the one I had up didn't have the attachments. I wanted to just show you I wanted to show you the ordinance real quick to kind of show you what's being clarified. While it's loading, I'll say, City of Annapolis has a term called flood protection elevation. It's basically taking FEMA's requirement that things are built at a base flood elevation, and it's saying we're going to go above and beyond what FEMA asked for, and we're going to ask for 2 more feet of freeboard, and that's what the city calls flood protection elevation. So everything in the flood hazard zones has to be built to the city's flood protection elevation. It's in city dock area, it's 5 feet required by FEMA, and then 2 additional feet required by the city. We're even going one step further here and saying we're adding an additional foot. So in the ordinance, we're referring to this part number 2, exception criteria. Exempted structures will be measured from the new grade at the front setback line, not to exceed the flood protection elevation plus 1 foot. The plus 1 foot comes from an area of the city's building code that says when you're in the flood hazard zone and you're doing any kind of enclosure below your first floor, you have to do this water flood proofing, it's called. It's actually a FEMA guideline, and we take what their requirements are, and we put those in our code. And so it's a building code issue. And this is just basically a little more insurance that if there's a need to do something below the first floor, it's allowed by FEMA, but they require you to add another foot. I think it's essentially so if in some, if water needs to escape, it can escape out. And that's the basic idea. So we're asking in this ordinance to set the grade at 7 + 1, 8 foot above sea level. And so that's when you would start measuring the height of the building. That's what the city dock is being designed for in its current design. So it's simply saying, buildings that are in that context should be measured from that elevation. And so in the staff report, what I added was right after I explain what flood protection elevation means is this paragraph. And then I explain where flood protection elevation is relevant. I added a section that says, when flood proofing is required, it's required, let's see here, right at this last 2 lines. Building or structure is watertight with walls and floors substantially impermeable to the passage of water to the level of the flood protection elevation plus 1 foot. And so that's the genesis of this part of the ordinance, if that helps. Do I still have you there?
Mr.
Yeah,
Waldman?
you do.
Okay. I can't see anybody, so I'm flying blind here.
Okay. So let me, just to understand that sort of the specifics of this, you take something called the base flood level, is that what it's called?
Base flood elevation.
Base flood elevation, and what is that? Is that the highest?
Yeah, there's a FEMA on their flood insurance rate maps. I'll show you what that looks like. So this is a city map that's showing the flood zone for the city dock area, but the next, let's see, come on. So, let's see.
Basically, there's some sort of baseline, what's it called? Base flood
Base-
elevation. And
You
that's
can
the-
see on this FEMA map where it says elevation 5, elevation 6. FEMA sets these elevations in their flood zones. They basically say, you can't build anything below this level and be insured. It's all about the flood insurance, and
Okay.
city,
So-
city participates in the
Five,
National Flood Insurance
6.
Program, and so.
Whatever they say 5 or they say 6. And then the city adds 2 to that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then that becomes the sort of the ground floor level. And from that point, you decide how high the building can go. The building can go however what the zoning code allows, right?
Yeah, exactly. So in the ordinance, there's an excerpt from the zoning, the historic district overlay. It's basically at that point, you're just working within the height limits that are set in the zoning. This is just simply saying you're allowed to measure from that new grade that has been created to provide a flood barrier. So that's the basic idea.
Okay. So, and in the past, or currently, if I were standing in Susan Campbell Park, all right,
Mhm.
where would the height of my building begin? What would be the baseline for that? And today,
That's-
right? Today.
That's like 3 feet above sea level, I think.
Okay.
So, you're,
3 feet above base flood elevation.
no,
Right?
no, 2 feet below base elevation. You're at 3 feet above sea level. So you're
Uh-huh.
not even at that 5 foot that FEMA requires.
Okay.
And so you're kind of starting off at a disadvantage there.
Okay.
And
So
so,
Bob, if I could just chime in, if you think to make it very, very simple, you've got sea level. Right now, buildings are measured in the area we're looking at for the Welcome Center at around 3.5 feet. And FEMA
above sea level.
requires 5 feet. That's the base elevation that Eric's talking about. The
Okay.
city requires 2, and then if there's a basement, the city requires another 1 for flood proofing.
Okay.
So essentially, what you're looking at, instead of measuring a building at 3.5 feet, because the building is going to be built at either 7 or 8, you measure it where it will be built.
Okay. All right.
yeah,
So it'll elevate things about 3 feet,
yeah,
About 3.5. Yeah.
3.5. Yeah,
3.5 feet. Okay. Okay. All right.
that's basically it.
Those are my only confusions.
Well, I don't have anything else to share at this point.
Well, we can, so is there any additional public comment? Anybody on the call today that wants to speak? I know we have Alderman Arnett on the call. I wasn't sure if he'd like to come forward for this item, for another item. His hand is up.
I'll let him in. Give me a second.
My answer is no, but thank you for asking. We've been through this ad nauseum. And I think we've finally gotten it straightened out. The council is happy, and I think the legislation is right and will be passed Monday. Unless you guys come up with a new wrinkle.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. So seeing no additional public comment, we can close the public comment section of this item and move into deliberation. So the public hearing is now closed for item 01523. If we would like to start discussion and deliberation, we have Mr. Lashinsky and Eileen and others on the phone that can provide additional insight to the commissioners if you have any questions. If we can go around the room, anybody would like to start, or I could start calling on you.
I'll start with no further comments.
For deliberation. Any questions, concerns? We're in discussion mode now.
Well, clearly the need for this has been made very clear. It's actually the specifics of it are actually more simple than it, as you can tell from my question, the specifics are more simple than it seems. But the need for this and the need for this to get done quickly is very clear. You've done an excellent job. I think staff has done an excellent job of presenting that. So I think we can, from my point of view, we can move forward quickly.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add. I don't want to waste anybody's time. I'm fine.
All right, so I want to make sure so no further discussion, deliberation. The commission is, I'm summarizing from my standpoint, I'm satisfied with the information that's been presented. I think both the presentations that we've seen over the last few weeks, the discussions in our last meetings, and all the comprehensive analysis and recommendation provided by staff clearly shows the need for this ordinance and adjustment. And of course, the need for urgency. So I'm obviously supportive going forward. Mr. Spakanitis, any comments?
No comments.
I move to approve.
Well, to recommend or to approve.
Well, I move to recommend approval. Thank you.
I'd like you to amend your recommendation just because in alignment with staff's recommendations, there were two adjustments or two modifications to the language of the ordinance. So any recommendation to approve would include those recommendations on the.
My motion includes those.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, can I call for a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody absent or opposed? Nay. The commission thereby recommends approval that the council adopt the ordinance 01523 as written and with the recommended modifications from staff for those two items. Thank you. So on the agenda next, we have the approval. So there's two things. Now that we've approved this ordinance recommendation to adopt the ordinance, because of the need of urgency, we would like to draft the findings and approve those tonight during the meeting, if everyone is amenable to that. Should we do that now, or should we move on to the next item and then do this as new business? Just checking where everybody's feel for is right now.
Well, while it's fresh in mind,
fresh in mind. All right, then I can open up. So I have drafted a proposed findings. I only did the summary part of what has been presented to us over the last 2 weeks. I didn't write any recommendation to approve or deny. I just summarized what was presented to us. So I just need support on the discussion part of this and the recommendation. And if everyone's aligned, I can do that. So Mr. Lashinsky, I can share my screen, I think.
Okay.
Wish me luck.
Okay. If it's an issue, I'm happy you can send it to me too, either way.
Just wish me luck. Hopefully this works and everyone can see my screen.
Yeah.
Yay!
It's showing up.
All right, so this is a very just, again, I've drafted up just based on the information that's presented by the staff and then by the presentations that went forward from last week's meeting, or yeah, from the last commission meeting, sorry. So this is just from the commission, a review of the title of this very long ordinance. And the summary. This is very much a summary of the 7 or 8 pages that staff sent over to us and what we've learned so far. It has key facts. So I'll give you a second to just catch up on the reading as we have it up there. These bullet points are just key facts that were presented and that we're repeating here as statement of fact. Information about the flood zone, the specific areas to the ordinances that are changing. If you see any, I can run this through typos and so on, but we can also approve with the assumption that minor changes to just format and editing will be appropriate.
Can any of you guys unmute Diane Butler? She seems to be held up muted by us, not herself, supposedly. I can't do it.
No, that is on her end.
Okay.
Technical difficulties.
Please
All right.
proceed then.
Thank you. We can move this forward. So again, this is just a summary of the facts we've heard through both meetings. And so on. And these are the 2 recommendations, the 2 modifications recommended by staff here, which was the language change on the flood hazard map, replacing it with the, I'm sorry, the details noted here. Excuse me, I think I need to sneeze. And then striking the FEMA link on the map as it's unnecessary, and that may change over time. Yes, Eileen.
Is it clear in the findings that the recommendation is for the 8 feet, not just the 7?
Well, we voted to recommend approval of the amended
Okay,
ordinance as it was
Yeah.
given to us. So if
Okay.
that's included in the amendments, then
Yeah,
that's
that
what
wouldn't
it's getting.
change.
great. Thank you.
Teresa,
Yeah.
can you go down?
Oh,
Down,
sure.
down.
Sorry about that. Sorry, right there.
I'm not actually a director, but
Oh, sorry.
yeah, you can just put Mr.
My apologies.
I would say with the discussion that the commission had nothing but technical questions, and was convinced of the need and the need for the ordinance and the need for an urgent passage.
Convinced. Any other recommendations, any other changes? And as I said, I kept this at a high level summary. So to Eileen's point, it doesn't go into specifics about those key points. It just says the ordinance as presented with some minor changes.
I think it's fine. I mean, we don't need to go through all of that. The points being made is, I think, the important salient points you make very well. So I think it's fine. The commission had nothing but technical questions and was convinced of the need for the ordinance and of the urgency of passage. How's that?
I am your scribe.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm good at many things, and multitasking on purpose or in life is not one of them.
Is that okay with my fellow commissioners? And then you'll just do the last paragraph.
Okay, with me.
Makes sense.
Okay. By
Very good.
count of what was the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5-0.
And it was 5-0. And sorry, 5-0. 5-0. And then who was missing? Mr. Pline, and I'm going to have Miss. I know she's here, but
Well, she's not, but she didn't participate. She couldn't
she's an
vote.
observer today. So, okay, so, and should I say we're not present?
Yeah.
Period, and this should work. Why is it telling me was not present? That doesn't sound right. Ignore that. All right, so this should be appropriate. Again, I know I've gone really fast through this, but I think it's pretty straightforward. I didn't, like I said, I summarized and restructured the language, but I didn't change any of the meaning or any of those things. All right, so if we're satisfied with this draft findings as written, if I can have a motion to approve the draft findings.
I'll make a motion, but just, and I'll make a motion to approve the draft findings, but Diane Butler's telling me that she's here, but she's in as an attendee and not a panelist. But she says that that's why we can't hear her.
So she like phoned in, so you can't admit someone who phoned in as a panelist, but I have given her permission to talk. She just needs to unmute.
Oh, okay.
She said time and again, she's unmuted on her end. So maybe reapply her as a, I don't know, try something else is all I can say. And we'll keep going.
Very good. Sorry, I apologize for technical. I know this is all, we're doing a redo of last week. So everything's a little bit different this time. So hope everyone has patience with us. All right. Do I have a motion to approve the findings for 01523? Nobody?
I mean, I'll move to approve these findings.
Thank you very much. Do I have a second?
I'll make a second.
Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And this is now approved. Mr. Lashinsky, I will send this over to you
All right.
after we
Thank you.
conclude.
All right.
For record keeping on these votes, what are you going to do about Miss Butler? Are you going to have her email in her votes or just count her as abstaining because we can't hear her?
Under these circumstances, I think that she's just not present, but for technical reasons. She's not abstaining and she's not absent. For whatever.
Ms. Bell, can you weigh in? If she sends us her verbal or email vote, can we modify that to a 6-1, or do we need to have her verbally vocal in the public hearing? The public meeting?
No, I think you're right. If she can communicate to us or communicate to whoever she's talking to, if that's David, and she has a vote that she can make orally, then you can record the vote.
I mean, she's clearly visible. So
But so far she hasn't weighed in at all. The only thing she's indicated is that she hasn't been able to be seen.
Understood. All right. So we will move forward onto item E. Thank you for that. So that motion is completed.
By the way,
you.
Teresa, can we also get a copy of the findings as well?
Oh, yes, ma'am. I'll make sure you're CC'd on that. I'll send it to the rest of the commission and to Mr. Lashinsky and yourself.
Thank you. I'm happy to share the agenda again if you'd like.
I believe it's the findings for 01423.
Yeah, that's right.
Perfect. I think I do have it teed up, I think.
We're unmuted now. Teresa, I've got Diane coming through me. Can you test Diane, make sure they can hear you?
Yeah, hi. I've been trying since the very beginning when I checked in to say that I can hear you, but for some reason I was a panelist and an attendee, not a panelist, and I kept hitting *6 the way the instructions said, but it wouldn't let me in. I've done this for different meetings, so it was odd that this wasn't working. But I had a bunch of questions about Viewshed and how.
How about we make sure they can hear you fine this way? Can you hear her fine? Too loud, scratchy, and there's a good.
Oh,
No,
she's
it's good.
Okay,
I can
we'll keep
hear
it going this way. Go ahead, Diane.
I had a bunch of questions about Viewshed and the impact of this ordinance on the Viewshed, but everything happened before I could be unmuted. So I'm just going to abstain if that's okay, because I didn't have any of my questions answered before we even got to deliberate. So I'm out, and that's too bad for me. All right, thanks so much.
Okay,
Thank you. I'll update the record.
Hello.
and the call's ended, so she's off. It's just me. Thanks.
All right, just give me 1 second to pull up the draft findings, which I had open a second ago, and now I have to find again. So you should have received the draft findings for 0422, I'm sorry, 01423. My apologies. And I will pull those up now. 1 second. So this is on the CIP from the last meeting. Can everyone see my screen? Is that a yes?
We can, but can you zoom it in a little better? Like make it full screen or something? Because remember, we only see about 75% of what you see.
Yeah, no worries. I can go about there. Better?
Much better.
My apologies. So this was all sent out after the last meeting as the proposed draft findings for ordinance 1423, the capital improvement plan. Again, this first section just summarizes much of what was presented, mostly a summary of facts. The first paragraph is specific inclusion of information that was in the CIP as we went through that. And the 2 line items on the capital, well, not 2 line items, but the 2 project summaries for the 37 projects that were submitted was 46 million. And then the 10 enterprise funding projects for a total of somewhere around 57 million, give or take. The new projects are then re-summarized again in the documentation that was sent to us and what was presented during our meetings. We obviously had very lengthy and detailed PowerPoint presentations and the actual budgets that was presented that include all of the details for these projects. I went through and just summarized them very succinctly based off the budgets that were provided by the documents. And so most of them are here, at least the new projects are all listed here. If anyone, I'll stay on this until everyone says we're good to move forward, because it is a little
Just
lengthy.
a typo.
Yes.
It's Acton Cove, not Action.
Oh, my
I know. There you go.
spell check.
Right. Northwest Street Park.
Like I said, much of this was taken straight from the
Right.
budget. I mean, from the budget plan. To make sure that I captured everything, and we can always approve with modification or, like I said, typos that can be revised if needed. Can I move down?
Yep.
All right. It's quite a few projects. And I did that to you again, Mr. Lashinsky. I'm so sorry.
No problem. I'm just hanging out if there are any questions, but you know,
All right, and then this has the conclusion. And so this is part of the discussion part. So based on the transcripts of the meeting from last week, I just captured some of the expressions that the commissioners shared during the meeting, specifically around the variety and type of projects, the emphasis on the long-awaited water access, maintenance and facility projects, the inclusive approach to community development, and how it effectively balanced the commitment to maintenance needs and so on. So if you have if there's something there you want included that I missed, just let me know. And that we closely examine the CIP, satisfy the domestic expectations. And we had those public hearings, and that we recommended that they adopt the CIP program by a vote of 5.0. Ms. Butler abstained.
I move to approve these very clear and complete set of findings. And I appreciate the author.
Thank you.
I think
And
you're really good. Thank you.
And I was absent, of course. So where do
Oh.
you document that? You don't document at the bottom vote?
I think I do.
I mean, it's said in the attendance up at the top, so it doesn't, right?
Does it say at the top? Mm-mm.
It should. There's 7 of us.
Oh, yeah. So then I should put it here then, right? Because it would be,
I also, yep,
yeah.
just Butler and Sale.
Oh, sorry. Mr. Abstain. Okay, that's perfect. And you said you were absent, right?
Correct.
Just so it's there. So that way it's like we had 5 vote and then 2 were missing.
Great.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Waldman, for your motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank
And
you.
I'll
very-
abstain since I wasn't there for it. So,
Oh, thank you.
I mean, I guess I could vote yes, but no, I'll just, abstain.
No
Doesn't
worries.
matter.
So I'm sorry, so the findings for 014-23 are approved and will also be sent to Mr. Lashinsky and Ms. Bell. Thank you for your patience as we walk through that. Now that should bring item E to a close, and I think, do we have any new business?
We went into our house and everything's black and we were like, oh, if we never connected the dots.
Mr. Iams, we need you to mute. Thank you. Appreciate it. Mr. Lashinsky, just a refresher on the agenda. That's the last 2 items, right? New business, old business, and motion to adjourn.
I believe so. The new business, communications, and adjournment.
Wonderful. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so
Aye.
much. This meeting is now adjourned. If we can come off of YouTube, thank you.
Can we publicly thank Ms. Pico for all of the work that she put in for tonight's well-run and thoroughly furnished meeting furnished with findings and draft findings on the, very good. I thank you. Very
Impressive.
good.
Thank you. And I am so sorry that Ms. Butler was unable to attend with technical difficulties. I think we should probably just in the future, or at least now, come up with a game plan to at least have speakerphones available that any one of us can, just put us next in the way Mr. Iams, I'm sorry, the way the way we did it at the end. So going forward, we'll have a better game plan for that.
Okay.
Thank you. This is concluded.
Thank you.
Madeline, can you let us know when we're off?
Sorry, did we have a motion to adjourn?
Yes,
Yes.
we did and passed.